Today, we're going to be talking about the current state of the game. How is New World in early 2024? Should you come back if you've played in the past? If you've never played before? Is the game worth it? You may have seen a lot of people describing this as a dead game. Especially recently, there has been a lot of negative discussion around New World. A lot of the current community for the game. I mean, if you just hop over to Reddit, you know, it is an absolute bundle of joy over here.
It's time for us to admit that New World is eventually going to be shut down. Wow.
However, I do believe that a lot of it is not completely unfounded. So today I'm going to be talking about my opinion on the game, somebody who's played the game for thousands of hours,
I think that one of the biggest problems for the game that a lot of people don't realize is the fact that the combat is janky. Like, if you can't get the combat right in the game, and like your character constantly desyncs with other NPCs because of the way that like the engine works, like the game just fundamentally doesn't work properly. Like that's the big thing. And there's like animations that hit you that you're not in. It's just bad.
Every single update, made a lot of videos. I generally, you know, pay very close attention to New World as a content creator for the game. And you might be thinking, well, this guy's just going to be biased then. He's just going to tell us New World is great and that we just, you know, need to pay more money on the store and stuff and go watch his Twitch stream. No, honestly, we are going to be, you know, telling the truth here. I'm going to talk about the bad in New World, and there is quite a lot of bad. And, you know, the good and potentially things to look forward to as well. There is obviously going to be some degree of bias. I will acknowledge that as a New World content creator. But generally, there are quite a lot of gripes and things that I want to say about New World. Maybe some of this might make its way in front of
One of the reasons why this stuff happened is also because New World server caps are killing the game. And they've been killing the game ever since the game came out. So New World has like a very low server cap, and people can't play with each other cross server. And I think that's caused by, in a lot of cases, the lag that the game has and the engine of the game. I don't really know exactly why this happens, but there were a lot of servers. Like whenever I started playing the game, I had to leave 3 separate servers because they died. And every time I left the server, I think one of them I got a free transfer actually. But other than that, I had to pay like USD. I had to pay real money in order to move my character to a server that was playable. So like if I go to like let's say I'll go ahead and pull it up, New World database, and I take a look at this and I look at server status. Like if you are playing on this server right here that has 148 people on it, you are going to be having a very bad time. You're not going to be enjoying yourself playing the game because there's nobody to play with. But if you put all of these servers together and everybody was able to play together, then you would see a lot less people that are quitting the game. Because what happens is that somebody thinks to themselves and they log on, like this one only has 27 online players. How can you possibly have an MMO that only has 27 online players? Well, what ends up happening is that these people, they're playing and, oh, wow, this is so fun. This is great. I want to play New World again. They log on for the first time in 3 months and they see nobody in their city. And now their server's dead. Nobody's talking in trade chat. The marketplace is dead. There's no way to get a group. It's just fucking depressing. Like you log on and everybody is gone in your MMO. You have no friends. Your company is dead. Like everything is dead. So guess what happens? Well, then they leave. They're like, well, I don't want to play. Like, I guess this game's dead. I'm not going to try it out. How many of you guys had that happen with New World? Yeah, a lot of you guys, right? Because, like, the good thing about New World is it's a buy-to-play game. You can just log in and play it. That's it. It's sad. But, like, this was a problem that existed in the game right from the beginning. And the developers just refused to solve the problem. They could do the channel thing like BDO. Well, they need to do something. There's not an active game anymore. I don't understand how this is still a subject to talk about. Well, there would be if everybody was in the same server, because they could all play with each other.
AGS, I think it's unlikely that it does. But either way, potentially you guys will find this video useful. You know, opinions of somebody who spends a lot of time every day talking to disgruntled World community members, new players, old players, you know, kind of a little bit of everything, and give you guys a rundown on what I think about New World in 2024 so far. With that out of the way, I'm going to do the obligatory like and subscribe and all of that stuff. If you guys enjoy this content, it does, especially these days with the current way that New World is right now, any likes, any comments, any subscriptions, subscribers, that all does help out. But with that being said, let's jump on into the video, shall we? So we're going to kick things off with talking about why are we doing this video now in 2024? For a lot of people, the concept of New World like being dead, the game being over, happened, you know, quite a while ago. It has sort of happened around this time where the game came out and then boom, nosedived into obscurity.
There was no content in the game and the gameplay was bad. New World is a game that the more seriously you take the game, the less fun you're going to have.
A lot of MMO players. Well, the answer is that after New World came out, and whilst it was a pretty shocking release, fun, you know, to have all those players kind of at the same time, and you had that new MMO experience, it was riddled with bugs, and a lot of people wrote...
I had a lot of fun whenever the game first came out. I'm going to be honest. I loved it.
...off the game around that time. However, later on, basically a year after the game came out, they had the Brimstone Sands and Fresh Start servers. Brimstone Sands...
This was crazy. This was a massive free update. This was really, really cool. I don't think they get enough credit for this.
It was kind of like an expansion, but it was free. And Fresh Start servers were basically an opportunity to join in and jump in again on a brand new server. Nobody could transfer over who was level 60, so it was kind of supposed to be even playing ground for everybody to...
And this was also massively mismanaged because the Fresh Start servers started dying. And they didn't merge them or put them together or anything. So they just let the servers slowly bleed out, and then the Fresh Start players just stopped playing. That's what happened to my Fresh Start server.
Hop in, and it turned out it was pretty successful. The game peaked at 137,000 concurrent.
Yeah, like my server
put
died.
It back into the top 10 on Steam for the time, with a pretty significant increase to the overall player base. But as you can see, within a few months, Amazon had managed to throw...
Yeah, it was huge. Like, it had a massive amount of growth, and it held that growth for quite a while. But the reason why people didn't stick around is because it didn't have social systems that made the game fun to play with other people. Like, that's also another big issue. Your Fresh Start server was also locked at the split the server population? Yeah, exactly. Like, it got locked. And, like, again, I think that a lot of the problem why New World had so many issues is because of... I would say gameplay is only like probably 70% of it, maybe 60% of it. And the other 40 or 30% are like structural problems. Like like the engine was crappy. And then also that the server, that like the servers were capped. Like those were a big problem, a much bigger problem than I think people make it out to be. Because like, again, it's like you think about like MMOs are the best whenever it's easy to get into an MMO. It's not easy to get into an MMO whenever you log in and you have to pay money and you have to invest money to transfer your character just so you can play the game.
All the way again, with some slight bumps here and there as they introduce this seasonal format where basically every 3 months there's a reasonably big update where they add in like a new dungeon, some new skins. Now we have a season pass as well, which is battle pass. But overall, you know, the player numbers kind of declining pretty heftily and not really doing too much for most of 2023 until we get to the end of 2023, and around about that same time...
That's whenever the expansion got announced and people came back in anticipation for the expansion.
They released the Rise of the Angry Earth expansion. Now, this was a paid expansion, first time that they've done this. It also increased the level cap to 65, introduced mounts and a bunch of other features. It wasn't as popular, probably about half as popular. Yeah, we get about half the concurrent play numbers here. But still, I would say going...
You also have to keep in mind that the reason why... So I keep eating. Let me just eat real quick. There was a massive Twitch event where, like, they paid streamers. I was one of them. I got paid to play New World in November 2022. It was fucking great. And so I got to play this game all the time, and they had a bunch of these people, like they had a massive marketing campaign. This is like multi-million-dollar marketing campaign to push New World, to get more people to come back and play the game. And you know what? It fucking worked. It worked. It went up higher than it did from the expansion. But the thing is that the content after that didn't really happen. There was no new stuff, and so people got away.
You know, from as low as 20k back up to 77k, 166% gain of players is actually pretty solid. But unfortunately, history continues to repeat itself as now we are losing all those players again.
Yeah.
In fact, this time it's especially bad because the player spike wasn't really that big for the expansion because it was, I guess, paid. You know, that kind of limited the number of people that would jump in and give it a go again. We didn't really get that much of a boost.
Well, this is what happens to like Twitch streamers. Have you guys ever seen like a Twitch streamer that gets like lower and lower viewers and then like their stream just ends up dying, right? And it's like basically you start circling the drain, where it's like as soon as you start losing viewers, people realize that you're losing viewers, so they stop watching. And people assume that whenever you're losing viewers, it's because you're not entertaining anymore. So yeah, it's like I saw the Hassan thing. I'll even talk about that. It's actually a great example I can use. So I was going to talk about this more, but I'll just kind of bring it up right now. Is like Hassan, I looked, like he apparently didn't get a lot of viewers for a stream or something like that. And he was really unhappy about it. And people were mad. And I've heard other people comment that like Hassan's viewership is going down. Like I've seen him at over 20K like multiple times. I'm not exactly sure why that happened or what that was or anything. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, as soon as people start seeing your viewership go down, they assume that you are boring and your streams suck now. And that's it. Is down a bunch from the start of the year. To be fair, a lot of people are because there's less people on Twitch right now. But yeah. The ripple effect? Yeah, exactly. And so like on Twitch, there's like Twitch has the same issue that MMOs do. Because like a lot of Twitch streams, the value that people get out of a Twitch stream is being part of the community. And so whenever the community is eroding, then people view that the game is eroding. And like, oh, the quality is eroding. It's not so good anymore. Hassan's worst takes? Well, what I'm saying is like there are other people that think he has the best takes. And the point is that a lot of the people that think he has the best takes, people will... The thing is that if somebody says Hassan has bad takes and Hassan has viewership that's going up, then it's like, well, apparently, you know, that's not true for a lot of people. But there creates a confirmation bias whenever you hear, oh, this guy has bad takes, and then the viewership is going down, nobody's watching anymore. And so that creates like, oh yeah, I'm right. See, this proves it. You see what I'm saying? People are being weird in his Discord about him doing different things. So you got justifiably mad about that. I don't know why Hassan was mad. I'm not defending or attacking him for that. I'm just using this as an example for why people view the community size as being valuable. Like, I have no idea. I don't know what happened.
So now the fall off is, even worse. We have the average players getting almost below 10,000, which has never happened before, and the peak players going under 17,000 in the last 30 days. And to put this into comparison, if we look back at 2023, I think the lowest peak players we had was about 20K, and in 2022, the lowest was 22,000. So
it's going down.
We're quite a bit under peak players, and
yeah,
average
it's
players
going down.
is also looking pretty rough as well. August of 2023 saw us go as low as 12,000 concurrent. July of 2022 saw us go as low as 13,000 concurrent, and potential spoilers, I hope that I'm wrong here, but I do think these numbers are going to continue to be red for quite some time. In fact, we're going to be waiting.
Oh. Ooh. Oh. Oh. Ah. It's not good. I mean, it's not good. And I say this, by the way, I love New World. And 1,590 hours. 307 hours. I like the game. That's a corpse. It doesn't matter. I still love it. You have bad taste in video games? I guess so. But it's still my taste, and I certainly liked it a lot. What can I say? Game is fun for some time. Yeah, how many bots? I don't know.
Around that same time again this year, that's sort of September, October. If we go back over here, it's sort of October, November. It's sort of towards the end of each year where the game kind of makes a somewhat recovery in player numbers. But I do think it is going to be getting very
It's a long
low
way until the end of the
before we
year.
get there.
Yeah.
Some people would probably say too low. I mean, if we take a look at the number of people playing on each server right now in New World, there's only a couple of servers here. I think we have Nick.
It's like, why are these two servers not combined? Like 837, 552, just put these two together. That are on the same region, just combine them right now. Just do it. EU Central, why are all three of these servers not combined? You add all these numbers together and it's slightly more than 3,000. Just combine the servers. They did? It doesn't matter, though. Oh, now they're doing it. Oh, okay. Well, what about a month after the game came out and this was a problem? Like, they're doing it. It's like, oh, finally. Like, yeah, now we're actually doing it. It's too late. Like, that's the issue. The prices were super low. Oh, the ore prices? Yeah, because nobody else had anything to do. So people want to see other players in the actual game. Exactly. Yeah, characters could get corrupted. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm glad that they're doing it. It's good that they're doing it. But, like, I think that a big reason why the game died is because of the fucking servers. It's not even because of the gameplay. It's because of the fucking server. Whenever the expansion came out, were people able to make characters on my server? Because I remember there was some bullshit going on where yes, you were not able to transfer to Marama. It was locked. So I remember, because I think Jibu tried to make a character on there, and he couldn't do it. And the only reason I could transfer over is because my main character was on Marama. Like, and that was on the expansion. Saying the same thing over and over. Exactly, yeah. That's the reason. That's all there was to it.
Nisa, Valhalla, and Lilith, which still all peak over 1,000 players at their sort of peak hours.
Wow.
We've got Lilith hauling in 1,347, going down to Nyx here, which is on EU. This is a fresh start server, just over 1,000 here. And then I think everything under there. Oh no, there are a couple
all about the
servers
servers,
that still
man.
peak over
It's
1,000.
bad.
If I move down to my server here on Barry, we peak at 625, and then the lowest server here, which is AP Southeast of Sutek, man, these guys don't even get over 100 players. It is sad times for some players on some New World servers. So what exactly is going on here? How is it that Amazon managed to release the game, get a lot of players, lose almost all of them, get a few back for Brimstone Sands, and then lose them again, get them back for the Rise of the Angry Earth expansion, and then lose them again? Is there some sort of like hole in the bottom of New World where players just keep draining out of? The answer is yes. It is called the end game, and it's basically non-existent. This can be demonstrated through Reddit, actually. If we take a look at Reddit here, we have several posts that I see on Reddit from time to time where it's new players coming in, and they say that they're enjoying the game, they've played other MMOs, they're playing New World, and they find it to be pretty fun, but they hear a lot of negative things about the game. Now, I've seen quite a few of these posts, and the negative that we're referring to is this is a new player here, and then we go to the other side where we have a veteran player, and they're saying, you know, it's time for us to admit that New World is going to be shut down, basically. Ooh. So, you know, this is the polarity of New World. Recently, over the past sort of couple years, Amazon have been making a lot of concentrated effort to revise and you know, improve the leveling experience in New World. They've been adding lots of quality of life. They've been making the game...
the new leveling experience was a lot better, and it improved the game in a tremendous way. It was great. But the problem is that making a game work doesn't really make a game better. It just makes the game what it should have been in the first place.
Smoother and easier to play, reducing bloat, making itemization easier, making getting to max gear score easier. The way I kind of like to talk about it as a metaphor is, imagine that you go to a hotel. You're going to stay a night or you're going to stay a week in a hotel, and the lobby, the entrance to the hotel it's nice, it's clean, it's shiny. The reception is good. You know the service is immaculate. Like, they're there straight away. They take your bags. You get into the elevator to the lift, and you go up to your room. That's all pretty smooth as well. And then you open your door into your room, and it's a little dank, dark box of depression. It smells...
Sounds great.
of we. There's no light switch, it's
Sounds
just
great.
devoid of any love, and that
Yeah,
is
there's
kind
no
of New World's
light.
end
Yeah.
game.
Great.
You spend this time
Perfect.
leveling up and having a pretty fun time, that you go around the map, and the game
Yeah.
looks beautiful.
It does.
Mounts now make it easier to move around.
It's
but when you
lit.
get to end game, you just end up with not a lot to do. We have expeditions, so if we go here, this is basically all of
Well,
New
the
World.
gameplay for Expeditions sucks. Like, it just sucks. Tanking sucks. You're just getting hit and, like, knocked down constantly. It just sucks. Like, that's all there is to it. And why does it suck? I think the big reason why is because of the desync the game has. That, like, whatever the problem is with Lumberyard, which is their engine, I don't know what this problem is, but I do know that it's a problem. I will get hit, and my character will go like this. Whoop. It's been like that ever since the first preview event of the game. If that happens to a new player, they're going to think to themselves, this game is bad. Especially whenever they get killed by it. They fix that? I mean, I don't know. I mean, last time I checked, they didn't.
World's Endgame summed up in this screen right here. We have expeditions and mutated expeditions. You basically don't do normal expeditions. You just do the mutated version because the normal version is super easy. You'll do them for some quests and that's it. Elite Trials is the Sandworm. Now, the funny thing about this is a piece of content that they introduced in Season 2, which was sort of in the summer of 2023. After that, they did Season 3, which was the expansion, and they made this content defunct because it gives you items of a previous gear score. 700 is now the max. This was when 620...
Yeah, and the Sandworm, I think, is still pretty hard. The only reason why people did it was for, like, dark matter, I think, which was, like, the upgrade material in the game.
5 gear score was the max. Now, in my opinion, it would maybe take them like a week or two to update the loot table, but they just don't seem to want to do that. So despite spending a lot of time and effort making this content, you know, polishing up the lobby, they then just leave it to, I don't know, decay. It's not doing anything, which is very strange. And like I say, Mutated Expeditions, we do have the cross-server capabilities these days. So, you know, if you don't have a group for a dungeon, you can...
Well, like, even though they have the cross-server now, they didn't have it for over 2 years. And this is what happens, is like, for every single week that you don't have it, the game loses. The game is bad. And also, like, for example, the gem system is terrible. Why do you have to delete your gems after you equip them? Like, having to put new gems into your gear in order to do, like, a mutated expedition, but each expedition has different mutations and different... Because, like, so this is basically the way the game works, right? Is that you want to have your gems in that give you resistance from an element that the mobs do in the expedition. And whenever I played, I'm not sure if this is still the case, but there were 2 expeditions or 3 expeditions that were active at a time. And each expedition had a different element that you were vulnerable to. So, or the different element that the mobs did. So, like, for example, if you would go into Lazarus Instrumentality Expedition, it would do lightning damage. But then, if you did Tempest Heart, it did fire damage. So, if you wanted to go do Lazarus and then do Tempest Heart, you have to now go and buy a full set of gems for Lazarus, and then you have to replace the gems that were currently in there, and then you have to use gems for the fucking Tempest Heart. So then you delete the Lazarus gems. And that's only to do 2 dungeons, if you feel like it, right? It's annoying. Like, I don't know how they thought this was... Yeah, it's just... like, what the fuck? Like, why would you do this? Sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Luckily, that is all changed. Wait, it is? I haven't played in a long time. It's not? I mean, yeah. So you still want to use all the gems for... Yeah, okay. Log in and check. I don't want to log in. It'll probably make me do an update. I don't want to log in. It's less complicated, but it's the same? Yeah. They got rid of resistances? No, they didn't. They got rid of ward, but they did not get rid of resistances. So you take less damage from corrupted mobs, but you take the same amount of damage from fire.
Just hit the random button, tell it whether you're playing tank, healer, or
Two
DPS.
separate things.
Hit the Q button, and that's it. You're queued for everything for difficulty 1 and difficulty 2, and it will find you players from other servers for the Mutated Expedition queue. So they've done a good job with that. And then we also have, from PvP, we have 3v3 Arena. Sadly, the queue for this doesn't really pop because it's not cross-server, so you only queue with people on your server. And as we talked about, if you're on a server like Sutek, you have basically nobody to play with.
You're not going to play
if
this
there's
game.
no cross-server capability, it just ain't happening, quite frankly, on a lot of New World servers. And then we have Outpost Rush over here. Outpost Rush, often considered one of the most replayable, probably the most popular format of PvP in New World. There's a good chance that if you go to the New World Twitch directory, probably like 90% of the streamers playing New World are going to be playing Outpost Rush because there's effectively nothing else to do. And this has been the case in New World for a very long time. The game effectively released with Outpost Rush. It came out. It wasn't fully working when New World came out.
No, it wasn't.
But we had Outpost Rush. Within the sort of first few months, at the beginning of 2022, we had Mutated Expeditions, and that's kind of been it. They haven't really pioneered or invented any new game modes. Like I say, there is 3v3 Arena, but Amazon, in their folly, have decided to not include cross-server capability for the new PvP game mode, only for the old PvP game mode. And they don't seem to be rushing to implement it for 3v3 Arena either. So this is what I'm trying to say, in that as a player in New World, your first 100 hours of the game are going to be really, really good. I would say for most people, you're going to...
I think that the new player experience for New World it's actually really fun. Like, starting off the game starts really strong. And that's why so many people were excited about it from the beta, is because nobody played it all the way through. And then as time goes on, as you get higher level, then it becomes problematic.
Enjoy the leveling experience, crafting, gathering, chopping down trees, just living and breathing in the world is amazing.
It's really nice.
Then when you get to level 60 or level 65, you're going to go get a few artifacts. You'll do some of the endgame quests. You might try Outpost Rush or Mutated Expedition.
Like, for example, like the artifact thing, like the Greatsword, which is one of the most popular weapons, is locked behind doing PvP. You have to do 3v3 Arena in order to get the Greatsword. I sat through doing content I hated doing because the Greatsword it's dumb. It's RNG, and it's also RNG on top of being PvP forced. Same with the Blunderbuss, and I hate it. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. And I played it a lot, and it was annoying to do. Like, I kind of enjoyed at least a little bit of it towards the end whenever I got better gear, but effectively making people do PvP in a game that you don't really have to do PvP in is never going to work very well. You said it's good, though, before? I think that if that's what the vision for the game is, then they can do what that vision for the game is. But the problem is that whenever you make that the design of the game, then guess what happens? People don't like it. That's the thing. It's like, I support them wanting to do it. I sat through it, and it's like, it is what it is. However, a lot of people aren't going to want to do that. Straight up, I'm just not going to want to do that. Like, that's it. And I had a lot of time.
And have a bit of fun. But that is it. Once you've done it once, you've kind of done it, and there is nothing else to do. And Amazon, again, doesn't really seem to be making an effort to add anything more for players to do for the foreseeable future. And this is the problem that New World has. This is why we have a lot of players that come in, because they are new and returning players, and they enjoy the leveling experience. They get to the end game and realize there's nothing to do, and they quit. And sadly, I think we're going to continue to have this issue for a long, long time until Amazon do actually address the lack of endgame. And to that, I would say, Amazon, if you do happen to watch this video, first of all, the Sandworm, remember, you spent like hundreds of hours developing this boss fight. It's pretty cool. Maybe just get a guy to go in and update the loot table. Just maybe.
Imagine that.
Yeah, that's a crazy thought. The same with your Soul Trials as well. Amazon spend a lot of developer hours on these sort of single-player, one-time disposable boss battles. They're actually really cool. I might be able to flash some footage on the screen of them here.
Watch. This is why people aren't playing the game. Was he in that? No, he wasn't. You clearly see the indicator. The indicator is right there. Looks like shit. He ran into it. He got too close. He might have gotten too close, and he clearly did. But whenever you see the way that happens, he clipped the edge, yeah. That looks and feels like shit.
That you do in the main storyline. In fact, there's several that you do in the main storyline, which are really cool. Unique mechanics. There's cutscenes, there's voice acting. What you could do is just scale these up to level 65 and have them be replayable instances. I'm sure it's going to involve a little
People
bit
aren't playing because of lack of content, not this. I think that you dramatically underestimate the amount of people that are put off by janky game design.
Technical work, but at the same time, I think rather than needing to design brand new boss fights, you could just take some of the existing content in the game, which is fairly well developed. It's from the main storyline, aka the best part of the game, and just copy that over into endgame. I think copy pasting some old content as opposed to just having no content, in my opinion, that's a little bit of a
He's right.
Free dub, you know, an easy win to go for there. Now, with that assessment of New World's current state out of the way, let's talk about the future of the game, because that's kind of what matters the most, right?
Yeah.
Where is this game going from now? You know, if we look 2 years in the future, does New World have a lot of players? Is New World even still around anymore? Is it going to be getting shut down, like Reddit seems to suggest? Well, in order to talk about the future of New World, I briefly want to talk about the past. New World never really was intended to be an MMO from the get-go. In fact, it was more of a crafting, survival, sandbox game.
Yeah, the game was originally intended to be like what they're trying to make the new Dune MMO into.
In its alpha state. You can see a little bit of footage here on the screen. Basically, you would land on a turnum, and with your friends, you could put together a company, go and build a base somewhere, and then attack other people, steal their resources, and just try and get a bigger base. So yeah, very Rust in its inception. But I guess Amazon at some point made a decision that that game wouldn't sell or wouldn't do too well. So
my understanding is the reason why they stopped doing that is because the game was dying. Even in alpha, the game was dying. People weren't playing it anymore. That's the reason why.
Instead, they pivoted and made an MMORPG, but without really having any of the fundamentals or foundations for an MMORPG in the game, other than, you know, just the combat and the overall audio-visual. There was no NPCs, there was no dungeons, there was no instance game modes or anything like that. On top of that, New World was also being built on a sort of brand new game engine. It was a heavily modified version of the Cry engine called Lumberyard, which has now been modified even more so into the Azoth engine. And to my understanding, working with this game engine is not easy.
Well, it's obvious that it's not easy. Like, it feels like every problem with New World, not every problem, but a lot of the problems with New World come down to there being some sort of technical problem, technical issue.
I've heard on sort of non-official accounts that the Azoth engine is a bit of a pain in the butt to work with. Not many devs do enjoy working with it. And to that extent...
well, Lumberyard, or the Azoth engine, whatever they want to call it, apparently they used to use it for other games as well, and now... my understanding is that New World is the only game that still uses this engine because of how problematic it was.
I think they have been making these strides, as you can see here, to kind of improve and modify and tweak and just generally make the game engine easier to work with. So one endeavor that Amazon's making currently is to basically change the way the combat code works in the game. So the way the game is coded as it pertains to the combat system and the animation system is being updated into C++. Now, again...
and it's like, that's great. This is awesome. But like, again... the problem is that once you have a game out for so long and it creates such a bad negative opinion that people have, it's going to be so hard to get people to come back and play the game again. Yeah, it's like the game's been out for 3 years now. That's insane.
Not super knowledgeable when it comes to programming, just in general, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'll link this in the description down below if you want to take a read through. You know, that there is some degree of technical know-how in order to understand what's going on here.
I don't give a fuck or no, but here's the thing. The game's janky, and if it wasn't janky, it would be better. Like, that's it. I don't give a fuck, like, whether it's C++, HTML, JavaScript, Lumberyard, or Unreal. It doesn't matter what the numbers are, what's behind the scenes. It's not working, and that's the problem.
But my understanding is that this is a step for Amazon to make the game easier to develop and iterate upon going forward, and hopefully also easier to find bugs and fix them as well. As right now, you basically get your boss that comes into the room and is like, hey, I want you to tweak this number with the ice gauntlet, and then they open up the drawer where the ice gauntlet's supposed to be, and it's just filled with, styrofoam,
bullshit,
little bits of pasta,
paper clips,
torn up Lego pieces. It's just like all kinds of junk in there that shouldn't be in there, but that is just the code for New World. It's kind of a nightmare to work with. So with this change to the code, it maybe looks positive for New World in the future. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say you're being very optimistic here, Baggins, and you're right. But I do have hopes that this is going to make the game smoother going forward and allow them to develop.
It's good that they're doing it. It's good. But I don't think this is really going to fix or save the game. The game has, I think they should probably do, a relaunch of the game or something like that at this point. I don't think that there's anything else that can save the game other than an overhaul and a complete relaunch.
Up at a much faster rate than what they're doing right now.
Or maybe just improve it, and hopefully over time it will get better, and then people will come back and play it.
We flip. It is slow right now. To add to that emphasis or argument on the game,
it's just really hard to undo the death spiral.
Slow. Sadly, we are seeing another delay with Season 5. Now, I think the delay... Season 5, by the way, we talked about it briefly. Seasons in New World are basically just big updates. Every 3 months,
There are a reason to sell a battle pass.
Reasonably big update. We get a season pass, which is a battle pass that you can buy, and then there's usually 1 or 2 sort of pieces of big content and a bunch of other bug fixes and quality of life along the way. So with Season 4, we got a new dungeon called the Winter Rune Forge, and they added in a sort of storyline that you could do one time with Season 4. And we got a bunch of new artifacts, which are kind of special legendary weapons as well that came along. But anyway, Season 5 was slated to be on the 12th of March, which at time of recording, this would have been tomorrow. However, it's been delayed, and they haven't even given a date as when it's delayed to. Now, most likely the delay is because of their sort of reworked combat that they're doing, so they talk about artifacts here, but I think this is, changing the code is a pretty big deal, and it is going to cause probably issues in the get-go. But in the long run, this could be pretty positive for New World. Another positive indicator for the future of New World, or negative depending on how you look at it, is the release of the game onto console. Now, to be fair, and to be clear,
should have happened 2 years ago. It's crazy. New World is a game that has 3 buttons. You could play this game almost with a garage door opener. There's more buttons on the little thing that controls your car, to lock your car, open your trunk. You could program that to play New World. What's this? Took forever. It took way too long.
Amazon have never outwardly stated, they've never said hey, we're releasing the game onto Xbox and PlayStation on this date. But there is a lot of evidence to suggest that this is what they are gearing up for.
Sure.
Case in point right now, we have an article which was released at the end of February talking about controller support. So this is a feature that's coming in Season 5 as well. And it's actually pretty extensive. Having played with New World on a controller on the test server, they have clearly put quite a bit of work into making the controller work with New World. They've got aim assist, target friction, target lock, which is a little bit worrying.
It's like they fix problems a year after the problems become problems. It takes them a year to do something.
Only work in PvE right now. They've created new UI and UX, so as I say, there has been a lot of effort put into this, and they're continuing to add more to it in the future as well, in terms of giving you more layouts to use with button presses and allowing you to create your own sort of controller layout as well. Now, I've got to imagine that Amazon isn't doing this well. Now, I've got to imagine
It did hit him. Okay. That's fair. But this is another thing that New World has. is it has hitboxes like this that are so, like, massive. Like, I would assume that a frontal attack at a player in the front would not hit me whenever I'm at the side of the boss. I think Thorpe was, like, the worst one. It's unpredictable. Yeah, it's just nuts.
Amazon isn't doing this because they think it's what the current player base want. In fact, I would say that probably less than 1% of New World's current player base play the game with a controller, and I don't know what the overall number of people that play with a controller on PC is, but I would hazard a guess that it is a probably relatively small number. Now, this is not to say that it's not important. I know there are people out there who much rather play with a controller than a mouse and keyboard, but overall, considering the current asks of New World's player base for a new Outpost Rush map, more endgame, just generally other features, and instead Amazon's like, hey, don't worry, bro, I got you covered. I know you want a new Outpost Rush map, but how about you can play the game with controller? It's just, nobody really wants it. It's gotta be said. So I'm imagining that Amazon...
I think that it'd be really great if they added New World onto Game Pass or something like that. That would be amazing. I don't know if that would ever happen, but if it was, it would be great. If you could play it on console. Absolutely.
Have a different player in mind. The reason why they're investing so much time into controller isn't just because they're dumb. It's because they have a... they have an image for New World in the future, and this is an important setup step, because obviously if the game doesn't work with a controller, it's not going to work on console, so we're kind of like the guinea pigs for that. There's another piece of evidence that points to that, and that is the fact that Amazon is actually developing another MMORPG right now, and it's actually the same devs. Like, the New World dev team are also working on a Lord of the Rings MMO. Now, we made a video on this topic nearly a year ago, and again, I'll link to that up in the top right if you want to check it out. But Amazon is publishing...
This is going to be nice. I mean, I hope it's going to be good. But, like, it's going to flop? You think it's going to flop? I mean, I don't know. If it's bad, then who gives a shit?
Publishing this game globally for PC and console. There's no release date yet. There are limited amount of details, but it is basically the dev team. You can see Amazon Games Orange County, makers of the popular open world MMO game New World, are going to be leading development for this Lord of the Rings MMO, and it's going to be published on PC and consoles. And interestingly enough, they're also using the Azoth engine as well, so they got the same game engine.
I hope it's good. I do. I really hope it's good. I hope the game is good.
And the same dev team making a new MMO that's going to be published on console. I would hazard a guess that they would probably want to publish their old MMO on console first, kind of just to see how it goes and to sort of iron out the kinks before they, splash their big Lord of the Rings money, because that there was a lot of money spent on this deal, getting this.
They probably spent a lot of money on New World too.
I'm pretty sure they want to make it go well. They want to do well. Another piece of evidence that would support the game coming to console is money. For those of you who don't know, New World sold millions of copies of the game on Steam. Now, this article...
Am I the only person that's not impressed and I don't view that as a success metric? Like, a lot of people bought the game. Well, it's a live service game, so the initial purchase isn't the win condition. It's continual players. It's like playing Capture the Flag, and then when you lose Capture the Flag, you say, oh, well, I got the most kills. Yeah, well, then why's your flag in their base? What's this? It's you're playing a completely different game.
Here from Video Game Insights says that it sold 4.5 million units within its first month of release. So I've seen some people, I think it's like Forbes is floating the number 17 million copies out there. I think the answer is probably somewhere in between. But either way, millions of copies of the game at like $30 to $40 each. I think Amazon actually did make a pretty solid amount of cash when it comes to New World sales. And assuming that they could even just get half the number, and I think it would actually be more, because the number of people who play games on consoles is pretty insane. Like, it is a huge market out there.
It's a lot of people.
Even if
it's about as much as PC.
get half the numbers that they sold on Steam on console, I think they would consider it profitable as well. So the fact that the Lord of the Rings MMO is, you know, they want to publish that on console, the fact that they're investing so much time into controller support, and the fact that it would probably make them like quite a lot of money, for me, those are all quite clear indicators that this game is coming to console. And it would also support, you know, or it's also supported by evidence.
Yeah, it's coming to console.
Of the fact that there's very little going on in the game right now. I do believe that Amazon's current initiative is to kind of ignore the current state of the game and instead focus on the game for console. Now, hopefully, that's going to coincide with a fairly big update. We're probably going to be looking around that same time as we were in 2023 and 2022, you know, towards the end of the year. It's that sort of annual release where we get the Brimstone Sands, we get the Rise of the Angry Earth, and this time we're going to get console, probably with something else as well. Now, I could be completely wrong with this. This sort of end of the video is speculation here, but I'd be interested to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Am I just completely deluded? Is New World gone? Would the console release be...
Nobody looks at this graph and says, oh, sign me up. This is the graph of a dying game. I love New World. It has been colossally mismanaged. It has been mismanaged in a way that is astonishing. It's just sad. Doesn't Elden Ring have more players? Almost every game has more players. Here, let's go ahead and just put this into context, okay? Black Desert has more players. I'm trying to think about what the name. Lost Ark obviously has more players. Lost Ark has way more players. Guild Wars 2 has less players. Final Fantasy 14. Even Final Fantasy 14, a game that's not even popular on Steam, has more than twice as many players as New World does. Elder Scrolls Online has more players than New World. It's not good. I mean, there it is. This terminal? Yeah, it's bad.
Be successful. I've got to imagine that if we took this version of the game that we have right now in 2024 with the quality of life features, you know, fast travel is actually attainable. We have mounts. We have cross-server queuing. We have 3v3 arena, although nobody really queues for it. If we took all these features and dropped them back in 2021, that player base of, you know, 900,000 concurrent, it would drop down, but it wouldn't drop down as rapidly. And I think, like I say, a release on console, the game is close to being pretty good. We just need more endgame.
The game's all right. The problem is that there's nobody to play it with, and it's buggy. Like, that's the issue. And there's, like, nothing for, like, casual players to do in the end game that feels good. Like, again, like, if you look at the combat... Like, let me finish the video, then I'll talk about it.
World. So fingers crossed that they have the ability to implement that whilst also implementing it to console. If they're just going to drop it onto console just to get the sales and then focus on the Lord of the Rings MMO, I think that is also a likely outcome. A bit pessimistic, but either way, it means that the game isn't going to get shut down for probably another year. So,
oh, wow, another year. You got another
with that
year.
Very positive outlook on the current state of New World, you can do with the information what you will. I ultimately do still believe
got a whole year,
New
guys.
World is worth the purchase. It's currently right now, you factor in, it's $40 for the base game, $30 for the expansion, so it's a $70 game all in all, and you'll get about 200 hours of content currently, and then probably another 100 is going to be added at the end of this.
Why don't they just have it to where, like, they should make it to where, like, you just buy the game with the expansion, it's $50.
Yeah, so yeah, $70 for 300 hours of gameplay. Is that worth it? I think so. And if you're crazy like me, you can stretch that out to be about 5,000 hours. Either way, New World is good. I don't think it's going away. In fact, I do think it is going to have quite a big player spike due to the console release. But what New
It
World
will probably go up a bit, but it's not going to be crazy.
looks like in 2025, only time will tell.
Yeah.
One big piece of information that we're still waiting for to confirm or deny whether some of the speculation towards the end of this video is going to be true is the roadmap. Now, Amazon is going to be releasing a roadmap in June. So a roadmap is basically what they have planned for the game for this year. Now, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that their plans for the year only come out halfway through the year, but that's Amazon Game Studios for you. They do things a little bit differently. So I am, of course, going to have a video on that, and if you want to stay up to date with New World news, subscribe, like the video, and of course, let me know your guys' comments down below. All right, I'm going to get out of here. It was fun recording this one. I wanted to get my thoughts out here, so yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Sad, man. It's sad. It's a game I played the fuck out of. I was so excited for New World. Like, I remember I would come back. Like, y'all have to understand that I have a mental disorder because I leveled up to 60 in the New World preview event, and then I leveled up to 60 in the beta, and then I leveled up to 60 whenever the game came out, and then I had the New World creator event that, to be fair, I did get paid for that one. It was a good time for me. And I leveled up to 60 again. I leveled to 60 4 times in this fucking game. I love New World. I'm so sad to see what's happened with the game, and I think it's completely the developer's fault. They played themselves. Have you tried therapy? I did. That was cutting down the trees. Yeah, cutting down blue trees. That was the therapy right there. Playing Rumble Club with Soda? I am. I'm going to start playing with them, but I want to talk about this just real quick. The gameplay in New World is just simply not very good. That's the problem. Like, this kind of stuff. Like, look at this. This gameplay is bad. Fix the fucking gameplay, and you're going to have no problems. Then why do you love it? Because I love it despite the gameplay. But you're not going to get people attached to it. You're not going to get people that are continuously, like, excited for it, etc. I'm sorry to say, but how should they fix the gameplay? I don't know. I mean, like, I could probably talk about that or think about that for a long time. Everyone rode this game so hard on Reddit, Pepperidge Farm members. Yep, and they were all mad at me. And I spoke the truth, and nobody would listen.